Scythrops novaehollandiae is the name of the channel-billed cuckoo, this bird being found in Australia, Papua New Guinea and Indonesia. And there are two subspecies of the channel-billed cuckoo, one found in Indonesia or the western subspecies, and the other in Australia and PNG. And both birds migrate to breed, and after breeding return to a more equatorial position, usually in the highlands. The Australian bird breeds on the north and eastern coast of Australia. After breeding, it takes its young back to New Guinea and flies into the New Guinea highlands. The Indonesian bird reverses the hemisphere rotation and heads north into the archipelago during the breeding period. Hear that raucous call. It is often given whilst roosting and also whilst in flight. The channelbills are best known because they are the largest brood parasite bird. Channelbills are often difficult to find. More often, we know their whereabouts because of their calls, but when you go to look into the canopy, they are very good at hiding behind the leaves. In spring and summer, the channelbill cuckoos and the coals arrive in Australia from New Guinea. Now the coal is also a member of the cuckoolid family, and both of these birds that migrate are very much frugivorous in their eating habits. The coal and the channelbill have completely different sounding calls. Here is the coal. The cuckoolid family in Australia has a lot of variation in size, colour and eating habits, but one of the most significant factors in the Australian cuckoolids is their migratory pattern. Many of these birds only come to Australia in the summer periods, and other birds are in the south and then they fly north. The variations in the anatomy of the feet of birds has given rise to a lot of phylogenetic divergent concepts as to the classification of birds, and the cuckoos are characterised by two toes pointing forward and two toes pointing backwards, in other words zygodactyly. The cuckoolids all have in common a down-curved bill, a degree of barring of the tail with terminal bands, and an eye ring, all shown here in this classical channel build. And though they share zygodactylic feet with other birds in Australia, particularly the Scythrops or parrots, but even at first glance we know that apart from the feet there is a big difference between the cuckoolids and the parrots, demonstrating the divergent nature of birds. And though totally unrelated, the cuckoolids, the Scythrops and Pisciforms all share zygodactylic feet. The channelbill is a little bit like Australia's version of a toucan. It has a very large bill. One would think it was top heavy. And the other thing about the channelbill cuckoo is that it has this very raucous call, not only in flight, but also in the canopy. Most Australian cuckoos are insectivorous in their feeding habits. However, the channelbill, like the coal, is frugivorous, preferring fruits for its diet. So on the east coast of Australia, it is most commonly found in fig trees. However, it does also eat insects, in particular the largest insects. And the stick insect for the channelbill is a real delicacy, often offering it to its partner. With the channelbills, there is not much sexual differentiation between the male and the female, slightly larger bill in the male. But in other words, these birds are so similar that we would call it dimorphic. In contrast to this, the coal is dysmorphic, In other words, the male and the female are different, the male being black and the female pale with black or brown. The female channel bill has a slightly shorter bill than the male, but for all purposes there is sexual dimorphism where the male is virtually identical to the female. Grey is the dominant colour, with some black mottling over the scapularis and wing coverts, the underparts being more pale. The bill is a slightly darker grey with a pale tip. Well, here the stick insect wasn't exchanged. Maybe the female got it at the next roosting site. The flocking behaviour of the channel-billed cuckoo is a little bit different than many other birds. It is very loose and variable. They will often come together in groups of up to 8. More usually it seems to be small family groups like here where there are 3 birds. However, in early springtime when the birds arrive, I have seen groups of 4, and talking to ornithologists coming from New Guinea, they fly over in flocks, crossing the Torres Strait in search of a suitable nest of another bird in which they can lay their eggs. The channel-billed cuckoo is the largest of the cuckoolids, or cuckoos, and being a cuckoo, it doesn't make its own nest, instead using the nest of a host bird in which to lay its eggs. As mentioned, the binomial name for the channel-billed cuckoo is Scythrops novaehollandiae. Scythrops meaning angry bird, novaehollandiae meaning Australia. Putting this together, it is the angry bird of Australia. And being a cuckoo, laying its eggs in others' nests makes many other birds angry at it. The channel-bill searches for nests that are located in high treetop canopy, for it's here that larger birds will build their nests. And also the nests will be made of sticks, a more solid platform for a larger chick to develop in. So the channel-bills go into the large tree areas of Australia, and they prefer warmer areas and have not yet gone to Tasmania. So they are looking for nests of crows, currawongs, magpies. And here in New South Wales, the currawong is the preferred host. It's reported that channel-bills will do the typical cuckoo activity at the currawong nest, removing the host eggs by either eating them or kicking them out from the nest. It is rare for a host egg to be left in the nest. So the channel-bills lay parasitic eggs that are hatched by the host, and then the host has a surprise like this: a large chick that demands constant feeding. This fledgling channel-bill has a ravenous appetite. The currawong adoptive parents lose weight, constantly searching for food suitable for the chicks. Here they are feeding them insects. Channel-bills have the innate wing flapping and begging calls found with most chicks. The only difference is they are louder and more continuous. The wing flapping and movement of this large chick is also threatening to the smaller host bird. The blotchy rufous patches are indicative of the immature bird. Now listen to the call of this chick and see how close to a currawong it sounds. As the currawong was feeding this parasitic chick, it was interesting to note that an adult channel-bill was standing by watching the feeding process. So at some point, the channel-bill chick will realise that it is not a currawong and move off with the adult channel-bill. And maybe I'm presuming too much, but I suspect this bird standing by is the genetic parent. Most of the Australian bushbirds dislike the channelbill. They know that it is a predator on their nest, and in flight and on branches, the channelbills are chased by smaller birds, but that large bill prevents any injury to them. By New Year, most of the chicks are now ready for the return flight to New Guinea. Departure happens at the end of summer. The birds heading for the Torres Strait, taking their chicks with them. And as they fly off, they are harassed by all the other birds that are pleased to see them go. On behalf of Plumes of Oz, thank you for watching this video on the channelbills. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have putting it together. If you would like to get notification, please subscribe and hit the bell, and you will be notified of our next release of Australian birds in the wild.